So this isn't going to have a lot of hoppers, though. Well. Question 4K. Is YouTube limited to 480? No. For a bandwidth issue? Yeah, you can watch up to 4K on YouTube. That stuff over at Mountain? It is, yeah, which is why I'm blocked.
Somebody's there. Hey, Red Light, how are you doing? What the fuck is it doing that for? That's annoying. What do you do for a living, Red Light? Well, get the Gigastorm. Who doesn't want a printer that's a meter square? Almost a meter square. Oh man, I would kill for that. I'd eat somebody for that. Yep, somebody would go down. Somebody would be dinner. Forgot to bring it up on here.
Lap.
God damn fly. Son of a bitch. Let's see. There it is. Oh, I don't want to see the ad. Go away. What the fuck? Okay, there it is. Now, is there any way to make the... There it goes. I knew there was a way to do that. You know what's really annoying? I don't know why they're doing it. Like, why would they care? But, or maybe it was just an accident. But it's like YouTube is trying to trick you into leaving top messages on and not live messages. And I still don't know why the creator of the channel has to change their chat to live messages so they can see them all. But look how on the phone it says live chat. Goddamn fucking fly. So it says live chat. But if you go into here, like here, you can see chat filter. It says top messages. and I have to go down to chat filter and go to all messages. That's really annoying that I always have to make that change. That there's no way to... Wow, my hair is really messed up. That there's no way to make that change. I was scratching it, and I guess that was a bad idea. But there's no way to make that change permanent. There's no way to make it stay on all messages. I cannot stop this side of my hair from just going... Ever since I cut my hair, this side of my hair, you see, this side's fine, no problem here, but this side just insists on going. I don't know why. It just does whatever the hell it wants to do. Yeah, the eyes are doing great. I mean, I still have the blepharitis, I still have the maple syrup, the tears, but the massive inflammation, the horrible aching that keeps me from sleeping, gone. So it was a bacterial infection, exacerbating the blepharitis problem. And more good news, I saw the doctor on Monday. So my biggest concern, and we're not sure what to do about it yet, is that was the bacterial infection a coincidence? Or am I going to have repeat bacterial infections because of the blepharitis now? Maybe from rubbing my eyes and crap like that, which is not something I can consciously stop from doing unless I catch myself. Because eventually the antibiotics will stop working. So I'm hoping that bacterial infection is now gone and that was a fluke. And now I just have to live with the blepharitis, which just means, cleaning my eyes out more often, stuff like that, using liquid tears, eye drops. So hopefully that problem... Oh, God. I do have another problem, and the doctor surprised me with a possible solution. So I am super, super excited if this works. I have a permanent cough since I got COVID. It never goes away. But it's exacerbated by my postnasal drip. And in fact, my postnasal drip has gotten worse. Oh, I know. It was intolerable. I was absolutely non-functional. I don't know how people can operate like that. You can't. It was driving me to madness. It was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. But much, much better now. And the cough. But what problem is the postnasal drip is worse. Much, much worse. And when I say worse, I'm talking, I bought an entire pack of dish towels. This is going to be a bit TMI for some people. I bought an entire pack of dish towels, 100 dish towels, and I have to do a full load of laundry once a week for my snot rags. I'm not kidding you. I have so much snot coming out of my face holes that, because it comes out of all of them, I have so much snot coming out of my face holes that it just, oh, there it is. Hey, drone shots. During that no sleep time, I didn't turn on the computer, I didn't do a print, I couldn't function. I'd sit in the chair and just be a zombie all day, just doing nothing. I couldn't function. My brain just could not work. So, I have this continuous snot problem that's gotten just worse. I'm talking, I gag on it, I vomit on it, I choke on it. I got to the point where I was pinning up a towel on the wall. So I would, in the middle of the night, I would go blow out the snot and go flick it onto that towel on the wall, and then do the other side and flick that onto the towel. And when there's enough snot on there, I'd pull it down and stick it in the washing machine. It got so bad. What can I do about it? Well, anyway, there is something I can do about it. Finally, he surprised me and said there's something new that works for postnasal drip. It's a steroid, but it's such a low dose, and because of where it's going, it doesn't have any negative side effects. So it's not going to make me blind, for example. But it's one of those nasal sprays that you squirt in your nose once a day. And he got it for me. The insurance covered it. And we're going to see if it works. He said it'll take 3 to 10 days before I start seeing some real impact. But he says it's supposed to shrink the mucus glands that cause the generation of all the snot. If it reduces it by 10%, I will be thrilled. It's so bad. I generate so much of it. It's just absolutely horrendous. It's disgusting. It's so even though it's my own fluids, it's just snot. It's disgusting. Because I mean, we're not talking about you blow your nose and you get a little. We're talking about you blow your nose and you have a ping pong sized ball of snot in your hand. It's nasty. So I finally got some blocks printed using the new method. I'm still having issues. The Chiron is down again. Technically it works, but that lizard hot end is garbage. It's fucking garbage. It's gotten to the point where it hard clogs the throat every time I stop printing. Actually, when I let a print finish normally, it restarted. But when I stopped this print and then immediately restarted the print, hard clog. I'm talking it's just absolutely jammed. I shoved a wad up its ass. It doesn't matter. It's hard jammed. The only way to unjam it, I think, is going to be to, I have to shove something in from the top. I have to remove the nozzle and then shove something through the heat break from the top and jam it out. And the problem is, because of the type of hot end it is, it's that J-head hot end, that V6 style hot end, where it's that spool on top of the hot end, and that spool gets grabbed on the mount on the printer. Well, the particular mount that stupid hot end uses encapsulates it. So you have a full block on the top with a recessed hole that the spool fits into, and then the open part that grabs the spool like this goes in underneath, and then there's 4 bolts on top that sandwich it together. Very solid mount. It's a pain in the ass to put together. It's a very solid mount, but you can't access the what do you call the little the retention clips for the pneumatic connections. You can't access that anymore. So there's no way for me to pull the PTF out tube out from the top of the hot end. So I have to disassemble the whole goddamn thing to get the PTFE tube out from the top so I can take one of my Allen wrenches and go and pop the goddamn jam out. I'm done. I'm done. I'm going to replace the hot end. That hot end's garbage. Do not buy that little red lizard hot end. It's absolute garbage. Nasty. Absolutely nasty. I am not. Mine's an old one, or maybe mine's a copy. Maybe it's not a legit one. I don't know. But I've had nothing but trouble with it. Nothing but trouble. I mean, look what it did to my what it did to my OG roll of Alien Ooze PLA. It just destroyed it. This is all. I hate that hot end. I can't replace this. I also screwed up the cut. The infill's in the wrong spot. I don't know how that happened. I thought I used the exact same file I used to print the other ones. Clearly I didn't. But that just did not work at all. The infill pattern is supposed to line up with the center line of these holes so that the part down there will actually have something to print on. And so I screwed that up. But that is the size of the blocks. I'm still going to use this one because this is irreplaceable filament. So I'm still going to use this. I'll use that one of the top layers where it's not going to affect anything. But that's Alien Ooze, his original green PLA. So that's one of the blocks. Let me show you. This one failed. But I'm still able to demonstrate. You can see how they hold themselves together. that's the beginning of the blocks. I can pop this off. There we go. This is the best one so far. This one printed really nice. But see how the infill lines up with the center of that hole there? That came out really nice. So basically I'll just keep printing these. It takes about 14 hours to print one of these. And it takes just under 1 kilogram of plastic. So what I'll be doing from now on is I'll print one of these. And then there's usually enough plastic on the roll when you're done printing one of those to print a set of these. These are the little pegs that hold together. There should be enough to print 2 sets. So it's 21 hours plus middle time. This one I ran out of this plastic, so I switched to a different plastic. But the way that works is it's really simple. The pegs just insert. And now the blocks can fit together. So, for example, this block would fit into this block, and then the next block would fit into here, and they would all be linked together. Sadly, that yellow block came out damn near perfect, but it's not usable because the come on, that's tight. I did not want to come out. There we go. Some of them are tighter. I found out the hard way that the power blinked for 4 seconds, and so the print stopped. And I was like, okay, so the UPS failed. And I went to the printer and I hit resume, and resume failed because it tried to lower the goddamn Z-axis straight through the print, which is not going to work, and especially that. It ain't getting through that. I don't know if it was trying to restart from 0, or if it wanted the home first and then go up again, which is dumb. I'm pretty sure it was just going to restart from 0. So even if I had rotated the part this way, it still would have failed because it's going to try to print where it already exists. So the resume print on the Chiron doesn't work. Yeah, the blocks are working. Like 3 of my UPSs are bad. Well, that one UPS was okay. It was never going to run that printer. The Chiron takes 750 watts on cold startup. Even my Blue Eddy box can't handle 750 watts. I got to turn the temperature up 4 degrees at a time to keep it from hitting over 600 watts in order to use the UPS. What I actually think I'm going to do from now on, just because that's an important one not to have fail on me until I can repair my UPSs, is I'm just going to have 2 power cords next to the printer. I'm going to plug in direct AC and just tell it heat the bed up to 65. It's an AC heat bed, so it heats up really fast. Once it gets past 60, unplug it, plug in the UPS AC input, and then tell the printer to heat up. And now because it's already heated up, it doesn't go above 450, 500 watts. Once that printer is fully warmed up, it cycles between 150, 200 watts and 400, 450 watts. And it doesn't typically go above that. It's only that initial, okay, I got to get from 20 Celsius to 60 Celsius, crank on the power. My other 2 UPSs have both failed. This one and that one, they're both Cyber Powers, 900 watt units. Neither one works. When the power blinks, they turn off. Even when there's no load, like there's nothing plugged into it, it's just the UPS turned on, it turns off when the power blinks. If that's an electronic failure, there's nothing I can do about it. I can't afford to replace them. They're $150 a piece. I don't have that. If it's batteries, first off, I'm pissed because they're only like 2 years old, 3 years old. The batteries should not be bad. You usually get about 4 or 5 years in the batteries. And usually the batteries, they don't just die. They usually degrade. So you'll just get less and less runtime, which is fine. My power outages are usually 4 or 5 seconds. But these have no degradation. They're just dead. So I'm fearful that it might be electronic failure inside the unit. Oh, this one did not fuse. You see, it's not fusing. It's a phase mode print. That's annoying. Why wouldn't that fuse? Interesting. It doesn't really matter. They're just a pin that holds them together. I finally got a sequential print going. Yeah, that's what I'm afraid of. I'm going to try replacing the battery in one, see what happens. Because it's not giving any kind of fault. It gives no indication there's something wrong on the screen. So I've got replacement batteries. I got lithium iron phosphate batteries I'm going to put in them. I can't use one. I'll have to, the only way that'll work is if I put 2 of them in parallel, because I don't think a single one of those lithium iron phosphate batteries can handle 900 watts. That's a big ask for one of those batteries. Those cheaper batteries, they have energy, but they don't have power. So I'll probably have to double up and use 2 cells for each UPS, which is fine. But for now, I'm just going to stick one in and see if it works at all. See if it turns on at all. Go from there. If I'm lucky, I'll be able to replace the batteries. And then I should be good for 10 years, 10 or 12 years before those lithium iron phosphate batteries go bad. If not, then there's nothing I can do about it. I mean, I can't afford to replace it. I'd like to experiment with my big one. I have a big 20 amp UPS. I use it for the mini split, but it's not quite enough power for some reason. I'm wondering if it's batteries or, again, electronics. But having one of those would run that entire bathroom. That's 1,800 watts. That's enough to run 3 or 4 printers at full tilt. As long as they're not all 4x4s. But now I do need to make one more block. I do need to make a 6x6 block. A half block. Because when you stagger the blocks like this, assemble the blocks like this, at some point you will end up with a half space where you're going to need a half block. So I do need to print a half block. I'm also, it's weird, it's got to be the printer itself. For example, this little beveled edge is just, it makes it nicer, gets rid of any flat foot, all stuff like that. Yes, these are for the big shed. Now, at first I thought, okay, maybe the overhang, the angle is too much, because this one, for example, the bottom is okay, but the top is, you can see the top is not, it's like it's not attached. And I'm like, that's only 45 degrees. And it's a 2 perimeter wall with 0.8 millimeter extrusion width. How could that not be attached? It doesn't make any sense. The only thing I can think of is that the printer is under extruding. It's not extruding the correct amount of plastic, which would be the only way, because like this one here in the middle here is solid. This this ring here and this is the beveled here as well, so that I don't have any problems inserting. Both ends are beveled. That's beveled and that's beveled, so that this is easy to insert. It doesn't. You don't have to worry about any elephant's foot or anything like that causing a problem. I also found another interesting problem. I don't think it's going to cause a failure, but it is annoying because it does weaken the structural integrity of the print. With a print like this, the infill is integral to the structural integrity. No, most of them only have a 1-year warranty because they're cheap pieces of shit. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah. So, you see in there how you can see a little light coming through there? For some reason, only on certain spots, like this one here in the middle is fine. This one's fine. This one's fine. That one's fine. This one's a problem. That one right there is a problem. And that one right there is a problem. These two right here are a problem. This one's a problem. Yep, see? See how I just peeled away? For some reason, now these are, the Prusa Slicer is actually doing a pretty good job pathing the infill, where there's only 2 retractions for the entire set of infill. So it's doing a pretty good job. So what's happening is, there's 2 ways to do square infill like that. You have rectilinear and you have grid. I prefer grid because grid is stronger. So the way this works is, easier if I show you. So all of these lines are one direction and all of these lines are another direction. Okay, so if I hold it like this, the lines that are parallel to the ground, that's one direction, and the lines that are vertical, perpendicular to the ground, that's a different direction. Now, if you print rectilinear infill, now if you're printing a model where you need to increase the infill density without increasing the infill mass. So what I mean is, like this here is 2%. Now, if I switch this to like 2.6%, I think. If I switch to 5%, you have twice the number of lines. But if I switch this to rectilinear and 5%, you'll get twice the number of lines without using twice the amount of plastic. And the reason that works is because one layer, it prints this one, and then the next layer, it prints this one. Now, that's good for models where you need infill density to support top layers and stuff like that, but you don't need the actual rigidity and strength that the infill brings to the equation. Like, your model is strong enough the way it is, you just need the coverage for top layers and shit like that. And it's also faster, so rectilinear. But for this, I need the infill as structural integrity. I need the infill as being part of the actual structure. So I use grid. And what grid does is it prints both directions every layer. So it prints the entire pattern every single layer. Now that does create a small issue that's normally not an issue, but for some reason it is. At one point it's going to print this line. So for example, it might start here. And it's going to go and do this. It's going to print this whole entire pattern right here. And it's going to come back to the start point here. And then it's going to come over here, and it's going to print this pattern. Wrap around, do this, wrap around, do this. Yeah, it'll do this and stop here. And then it'll come over here and do this one. And wrap around, and do that. And that's how it'll print this infill pattern, for example, in 3 paths. Well, the problem is, when you print this path, that's done now. But now at some point, it has to come by later, because now this is hardened, and it's a couple seconds later, and it comes by and it prints this path. Well, that means the nozzle is actually crashing through a little bit of filament right there that was printed when it did this one. So this line right here is now solid. It's frozen. The plastic is cooled, and you now have a solid line right here. And when it prints this line, well, this line happens when it prints this. So that's why that one's immune to it. It's still soft. It hasn't fully hardened. But by the time it prints these two crosses, this line has hardened. And so the nozzle is literally crashing straight through a nozzle path, a filament lay that's already been laid down and frozen. And I think that's the problem. I think when the hot nozzle comes through and goes crash through this line that's already here, instead of melting together and creating a solid crosshatch like this, it's breaking it. And it's creating a slight gap before the filament grabs the line that was previously there already. And so you end up with weak points. Now, usually the bottom layers don't do that, but the top layers can. So yeah, this one, the bottom layers look good. But if you look down, you'll see where the plastic looks thinner. And the result of that can be really bad, because what will happen is there's really nothing attaching. There's nothing attaching the filament. Because when it came through and it drew, why can't I figure that out? When it came through and drew this line, it cut this line. Is there anything I can do about that? Is there anything I can do to stop it from creating these weak intersections in the fill? It doesn't stop it from printing or anything, but it creates weak infill points. And that's a little annoying because that's part of the structure of the block. I don't think it's going to fail. And maybe it has something to do with printing big, thick layers, because these are 0.8 millimeter wide, 0.6 millimeter tall. So they're 3 times taller than a normal layer. And then again, maybe it's part of the under extrusion, because like this should not be separating. You can see it right there. Look at this. It's separating. See? It's not fused, which should not be a problem with that fat a layer at a 45-degree angle. So I'm wondering, I don't know. I gotta weigh these blocks and see if these blocks are different weights. I didn't think of that. Because I do have, well, that one's not complete. But these two are complete blocks. But they're different filaments. I might have to use the same filament on the 2 printers and see if one is under extruding. If it's printing lighter than it should, that would explain this kind of crap. Because I don't want that to be happening. But yeah, I finally got these the right size. 35.5 millimeters was the correct size. Although, if that's under extruding, it might not be the correct size. Although I'm printing these pretty slow. Interesting. But yeah, that works right. It takes me 90 minutes to print 3 of these. Not bad. Although I might turn them off Haze mode just to stop that. But the advantage of Haze mode is you get that nice smooth finish. And if you start having zits on the outside, it's going to change. Some might be tight, some might be loose. But that gives... they don't have to fit tight. They can fit a little loose. But I want them tight enough that they don't fall out on their own. You know, that they stay put when I stick them in. Like this end here is... No, wait a minute. Nope, that's fine. No, that's separated a little bit. Oh, and I've been having PLA prints crack on me. Even this one did. Look at this. Look. How the hell does that happen? It's PLA. Oh, there's another one. Look at that crack. That happened after I printed it. I actually heard it do that. Oh, you think that's... you ain't seen nothing yet. The reason I had to restart that one. That thing split itself right in half. That's PLA. It's like, how does... I didn't know PLA could warp that hard. Where the hell is my... Oh, it's here. I've never had PLA do that. That's like... That's incredible how much that warped. That it actually split the damn model in half. I actually had to... I stopped the print and restarted the print. It's like, that's not going to work. Huh. Crazy. I've never had to do that. And I thought maybe, am I accidentally printing with, you know, ABS or something and it's somehow working because of the fat nozzle? No. Unless the package is mismarked. Unless it... But it doesn't smell like ABS. It doesn't behave like ABS. It doesn't melt like ABS. So I know it's not ABS. I don't know. Again, maybe it's that printer. Maybe that printer is under extruding and there's not enough plastic being laid down. And that's a pretty good inside shot of... I want to keep this. That's a nice demo piece. Actually, that one's even better because it shows the actual cups. Yeah, this one's even better. Try to get rid of all the fuzz. And where the hell's all this? Oh, that's just from the movement. From the infill movement. But yeah, I was like, holy crap, I've never seen... No, it's just... It's cheap, garbage, white PLA from 6 or 7 years ago. You know, it's from my hoard. I mean, it's no name brand. There's no markings on it. Nothing. It's just random roll of PLA. It's this cream-like color. You know, it's not a pure white. It's this like off-white cream color. But that's a good sample piece to show the inside structure. Show how strong these are. But you saw how much the infill. You see the infill bending. See the infill bending there? That shows you how much force can be transferred to the infill. I wonder. There's something we can test. Is it... Oh! Oh. Well, that explains a lot. Yeah, I'm getting 0.6. And some are down to 0.5. Hey, Mike. That's down to 0.4. That might just be flexing. Yeah, 0.6. These are 0.6. They're supposed to be 0.8. In fact, they're supposed to be 0.9. I actually told the slicer, because the infill felt a little light to me, so I told the slicer to up the infill to 0.9 millimeter extrusion width, and I'm getting 0.6. So I'm getting 2/3 of my extrusion. That explains a lot. That would explain the cracking. Because PLA does warp. Most people don't realize it. PLA does warp, and it has a lot of warping force. I've had PLA pull the magnet right off the bed when Creality uses that flexible soft magnetic sheet. It'll peel that right off. Yeah, that explains a lot. Now this wall should be 1.6. It's 1.2. So it's printing at 0.6 for some reason. Yeah, that explains everything. Look at this. That wall is 1.1 to 1.2. 1.2. It's supposed to be 1.6. Well, that explains a lot. That also explains why I have so much filament left over. It's supposed to use almost the entire roll, but I usually have a bit more than I should. That's not a Z offset. That's a extrusion. It's not extrusion. This is the middle. This is not the bottom or the top. This is the middle of the piece. So that has nothing to do with Z offset. Squish doesn't matter. It's not Z offset. This is the middle of the print. This is the middle. So this is not the part touching the bed. It's supposed to be two 0.8 millimeter paths, and it's 1.2 millimeters thick, which means it's only printing a 0.6 millimeter path. That would explain why the edges are disconnecting. See how it's disconnecting right there? And that explains why this was cracking too. And that also might explain why this was all over the place. Now this one printed nicely. This one seems... Goddamn son of a bitch. Pissed me off. It came back. I tossed it up here and it came back. Let's see what this one is. Oh, that's warped right there. Whoa, what's all that warping? That one's not warped. That's 0.62. Huh. Now, which printer did I print this on? This is the Chiron. So both printers are under extruding at 0.6. That's only 1 millimeter thick. Okay. What about this one? 0.6. This one was looking perfect until it failed. .7. That's 0.8. Okay, so this one was much closer to correct. Now this one's right. This one's 0.8. And nothing peeling there. And I can't see this because it didn't finish printing. But the bottom has no separation on the bevel here. Yeah, no separation. That warping is a little weird though. You can see that gap it creates right there. See it? See the light coming through right there? You can't really see it, can you? Yeah. On this one here is compromised, where it's not. See how I was able to detach that? That's not the under extrusion. That's a different issue. But you can see it really bad up here. You can see it really where it's just not a. Yeah, it's separated there too. This one's the correct thickness though. So this one printed correctly. This is the only one that printed correctly, and of course it's not complete. Of course. So for some reason they're both under extruding massively. That defeats the point. That literally defeats the entire point, filling them with spray foam. The whole point is to be only 3D printed. No glue, no adhesives, no fasteners, all 3D printed. And on top of that, hey D-Wet, the spray foam will cost almost as much as the damn plastic. You know, that spray foam is like $6 a can, $7 a can. Awesome, thank you. D-Wit's in Canada, so I have him hunting something for me. I saw something on a YouTube channel. I was like, I want that bad. Yeah. I really hope this nasal spray works for the post-nasal drip. Oh, that would be wonderful. That would be so wonderful. I have to go back out to the container and get it. I didn't bring it in because I brought in all the PLA for this. But I did see a few rolls of PETG in the container. So I'll be able to get back to printing more of the lighter shed. I want to get that done too. And right now I'm just fighting with printers not printing correctly. They're just not working properly. I don't know what's going on. It seems to be printing okay. What about this one? Oh man, I don't want to break this. I can go all the way inside, can I? Yeah. Well, that's okay. That's not measuring correctly because I can't get it. I can't get a proper. Oh wait a minute. I can do it from here. Getting about 1.3. So even these are under extruding a little bit because these should be 1.6. It's a 0.8. Are these nozzles incorrectly marked? Do I have a bunch? I got a whole entire case of 0.8 millimeter nozzles. Did they screw up and send me a whole bunch of 0.6 millimeter nozzles, but they're imprinted to 0.8, or are the printers under extruding? I don't know. It's really annoying though. It's really, 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 really annoying. Okay, that fits there. And the bevel seats on the bevel inside of here, so it's a nice bottom out. It just stops and stays where it's supposed to. This one obviously doesn't have the bevel on top. Very, very, very annoying. What do I even do about that? And the problem is, I don't have any other hot ends that will fit that machine. That's the only J-head I have. By the way, if you guys are looking for a nice all-around Android tablet, I'm telling you, this Blackview Active 8, it's about $250, $300, depending on if you get it on sale or not, on AliExpress. This thing is the shit. It's got the Helio G99 processor, so it's a flagship grade processor, so it doesn't feel slow like the cheaper Chinese processors can feel. And it's got the nice big screen. It's heavy as hell. It's not a lightweight tablet. It's there's a reason there's a strap on the back, because this thing is heavy. But that's because it's got a 20,000 milliamp battery pack in it. I charge this every other week. Once every 2 weeks I charge this. Go away, go away, go away. I lost a package thanks to the post office. It has a couple of nozzles and stuff in it that I need, and I don't have the money to reorder it. I'm not going to get a refund, and even if I did, it would take 2 weeks for me to get it. She put it in the wrong mailbox. It shows as delivered in mailbox, but it's not in my mailbox. She also did it at a different time of the day, an hour earlier than she put the other package in my mailbox. So she put it in somebody else's mailbox. That person is, of course, going to keep it. They're not going to give it back. And unless they can change the status to not delivered, AliExpress is not going to give me my money back because it shows delivered. I was like, thanks a lot. What do you think about the X1 Carbon? I have no personal opinion on the X1 Carbon because I don't have one. So I can't really give you a objective opinion on the X1 Carbon. Subjectively, a lot of people have it, and it seems to be working very well. There seems to be some customer service hiccups here and there, but that's to be expected from a Chinese vendor, and they do seem to be working toward remedying those problems. So they're not just ignoring them. They do appear to be proactive in dealing with it. So that's a good thing. I don't like the proprietary nature of the printer. However, the nature of the printer is proprietary, so it's kind of a catch-22 there. In general, the people who have it seem to enjoy it. And there seem to be a lot of people who they get a lot of them. People are building entire print farms out of these things. Hey, James. So I use this. I actually, the latest thing I do with this is I transfer all of my movies and TV shows onto this. And I use this as a media player. And I cast the video from this to my TV. I can cast from my laptop, but it's unstable. It intermittently stops, gives me problems, hiccups. While casting from VLC on the tablet is like 99% reliable. After a couple hours, sometimes it'll hiccup and I just restart it and it's fine. But I'll just take my videos, dump them on here, and then I just cast them from here to my TV. And that works very, very well. Plus, VLC on here allows me to turn off the screen while it's casting video. So it uses hardly any power. I mean, I could literally do that for a week without charging. Let's see. Any cubic Chiron. So I can get a replacement Chiron V5 J-head for 16 bucks. Here's one for 13. Here's a 2-pack for 23. The only problem is I don't think I have the original mount for the Chiron anymore. I haven't had a stock hot end on that thing in a very long time. So I don't have the... Oh, here's one for 11. I might just slap a stock hot end on there and see if I get the proper extrusion. Even though the stock hot end on that thing sucks. That is not a Chiron hot end. The Chiron has the J-head hot end. Unless this one didn't have the... Oh, a Creality hot end might fit on that then. And those are about the same price, and I think they'll have the same bolt holes. And they are much more reliable. Ooh. Interesting, interesting, interesting. Okay. There's one for $11.99. Is that a pair? Yeah, a pair for 20 bucks. Pretty hard to argue with that. That's 10 bucks each. Although I can buy them individually for $10.91. Cool. Do it. Well, as long as they're not taking any credit card information or bank account information from you, meaning they're not charging you anything, then do it. What's the worst that can happen? You don't get it. I hate when I reply and I give them all my information. It's okay, we just need you to pay for shipping. I'm like, you fucking scammer, go away. Okay, so here's a complete Creality style hot end for $11. Because the original Chiron hot end is garbage. It was nasty. I gotta double check and see if it actually has the bolt holes for the Creality hot end. It's amazing they're actually putting commercials on TV trying to educate people about scams. You know, this guy says, "Hey, I got approved for a loan. I just got to pay the document fee with gift cards," and he puts a pile of gift cards on the counter. It's like, I understand when your 87-year-old grandmother falls for that because they have a little bit of dementia. They might be a little senile. Okay, their brain's not quite working right anymore. I was like, but you know, when a 30-year-old falls for that, it's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? It's like, are you made of stupid? Do I take bites out of you and I just find stupid, 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 stupid? I mean, it's a scam. I mean, it's so obviously a scam. Like, it's not even a maybe. It's just, it's such a blatant scam. And I don't understand people sometimes. I just don't understand how people can fall for that. They're desperate is what it is. It has to be what it is. It has to be an issue of desperation. They're so desperate to be approved for the loan for whatever they're trying to do that they're willing to jump through a hoop on the chance that it might be legit. I was like, but it's not like there's a chance. God damn hair. This one right here. It doesn't matter. I comb it, I brush it, it just comes back. On the off chance that it's not a scam, but there is no off chance. It's always a scam. It's always a scam. It's never not a scam. Oh, don't go there. Trump hair my ass. No association with that scumbag criminal. I come from Pennsylvania, New Jersey. We know what a scumbag he is. Anybody in the tri-state area who votes for him is an idiot. Or they were in on one of his scams. The number of businesses he's put out of business. You know, small mom and pop shop. He'd place, $10,000 order and then not pay. He would default on it. Put them out of business. They're out of business. They can't pay their suppliers. And because they're a small mom and pop shop, that was enough money to put them out of business. The number of people he screwed. Put it this way. If I put him in contact with a scammer, I'd feel bad for the scammer. I would have sympathy for the scammer. I mean, it's just... That doesn't mean he's a horrible president. He is. But that doesn't necessarily mean that. But as far as I'm concerned, that's telling enough. I mean... There's one reason we voted for him the first time. And that's we were so sick of the slime and filth that was in Washington that his promise to be the maverick, to be from the outside, to be not from within that politics, is the only reason he got elected. And then, just like the kid dumping the gift cards on the countertop to get the load, It's a scam. It's always a scam. And we fell for it. We were so desperate for change that we violated, oh God, that we violated our own rules. You recognize this, Duet? You recognize that color? You know I screwed it up. Get away from me. Fly trying to go in my ear. This is an original roll of Alien 3D's Alien Ooze Green. And I screwed it up. I'm still going to try to use it. Just because it's too valuable to throw away. I mean, it's solid. It's not going to collapse or anything. But yeah, I screwed that up pretty bad. Oh, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? So what are you guys doing for Thanksgiving? We're going to have a double turkey night. We're going to have turkey tonight. And we're going to have turkey tomorrow night. Because I freaking love turkey. I got all the gooey ingredients. We're going to have broccoli and corn and stuffing. And I hate stuffing, but she loves stuffing. So I realized I was gonna skip the mashed potatoes because I don't want instant mashed potatoes. And I realized I got 2 bags of potatoes. We're having mashed potatoes. Fresh mashed potatoes is so much better. No. We don't buy full turkeys. There's no reason. There's no place for me to put it. There's no reason for me to spend the money on it. There's no reason for me to blow 8 hours of electricity cooking the damn thing. There's no reason. There's only 2 of us. There's just no reason for us to buy a full turkey. Oh, you guys do Thanksgiving, but on a different day? What? Oh. That goes on that end. Okay. Oh. Interesting. I also got I screwed up the bottle somehow. I have the bevel here, but not here. I had the bevel there. I don't know where it went. So I screwed something up. So I got to fix that, put that bevel back there. Where it belongs. Get the infill correct this time. So there's 2 things. I need the infill to align with the center of this because it allows the infill to do that. It allows the infill to support the creation of the cones up top. What are you doing? Phone's being weird. You like the X1 carbon? It's been good to you? Most people seem to have a good experience with it. You know, considering how many are out there, I'm surprised there's not more squeaky wheels. Usually, I mean, people say all the time, well, look how many problems you have with the Ender 3. I was like, yes, because they sell millions of them. So if 1% of 1% of your users have a problem, you know, 1/10 of 1%, 1/100th of 1%, that's still going to be thousands of users who have a problem. Now, of course, the Bamboo has nowhere near that kind of sales volume, but they are selling a lot of them. So that does seem to be an indication that the hardware is pretty good. Now we actually got what's that? 3, 6, 11 or 12 pounds of turkey we got in 3 different turkeys, all boneless. Little butter balls, little 3-pound butter balls. The one's like a 5-pound. I got 1 5-pound pre-cooked smoked turkey and 2 3-pound boneless, skinless breast turkeys that I stick in the rotisserie. And oh, that's another thing that's in my package that the mailman lost is the Chinese sellers are selling collapsible swords, and they're actually injection molded. They made an injection molded little katana sword, like the 3D printed one that flick and it comes out. So I got the black one and the pink one, and of course the pink one is in that package that was stuck in somebody else's mailbox, which I'm probably never going to see. But yeah, they're copying the sword and they're doing injection mold. $2. It's pretty hard to argue with $2. My finger's crooked? No. It looked crooked for a second. That's weird. Optical glitch. Now, do you have the new experimental firmware for the MK4 that gives it input shaping and the higher speed? Because they're getting some pretty impressive speeds with the new firmware on the MK4. I mean, sure, I would love to cook a big 26-pound turkey. I mean, it would be absolutely delicious unless you screwed it up. But there's no... What am I going to do with 26 pounds of turkey? Well, you're going to get like 13, 14 pounds of turkey out of that 26 pounds. The rest is going to be bone and guts. But what am I going to do with it? And, the electric bill alone to cook it when there's only 2 of us. MK3, okay. I think mine's an MK2. I actually did score a Prusa right before I left Pennsylvania. I got one for $200. I think it was $200 or $250, something like that. I think it's an MK2, not the 2S, just the 2. I think. But that one should hold some value. The Prusas hold a little bit of value, so you should be able to get a decent price for it. So I gotta see if I can find a Creality hot end around here somewhere. I gotta have one here somewhere. The problem is I think I use most of my spares. Whenever I would get a cheap clone printer that had a crappy hot end, I would just replace it with a Creality hot end. But the Creality hot end sucks. No, it doesn't. It's not great. It's not the cat's meow. It's not like a mosquito or anything like that. But it's reliable. It's consistent and reliable. But it's Teflon lined hot end. So what? It's a consumable. You replace $1 worth of Teflon tube every 3,000 or 4,000 hours worth of printing. Whoopee. It's consistent. It's reliable. It gets good print quality. And it's available for $11 on Amazon. If they will. If they would print a katana in metal, that would be freaking awesome, dude. I'm working with Vision Miner to make composite rockets using things like Peak and Ultim and stuff like that. I now finally have a design, maybe, where they can print the entire thing. So the whole rocket will be Ultim 1010. How awesome would that be? The whole damn rocket, Ultim 1010. Like from top to bottom. That'd be awesome. Yeah, I agree. Good company. And again, if you want a kick-ass nozzle, I don't even have an affiliate link unless you use my Amazon link. U.S. Metals Diamondback nozzles. If I could afford to put them on every printer I have, I would. It's just such a badass nozzle. It's essentially indestructible. In theory, it should be impossible for you to damage that nozzle. Unless you mechanically torque it so badly that you separate the diamond from the brass. But, there's another company. He was at the Murph and Earth years ago. Heavyset guy, big heavyset guy. I think he worked for one of the big aerospace companies. He had these little balls that were all metal titanium printed. I actually got one. It's here somewhere. I keep trying to find him. They're $100 a pop, about $94. But sometimes they have a 5% discount. Also, use your Amazon credit card and you get 5% cash back. That's like $5 off. So it'd still be like $95 with tax. Well, I don't know about Canada. But it really is, in theory, it is the last nozzle you will ever buy. The material is it's almost too good to be true. When you look at the spec sheet for polycrystalline diamond, it's harder than anything else we use. It has better thermal transfer than anything we use. It has better thermal conductivity than anything we use. And it has better lubricity than anything we use. It's almost like someone said, what is the perfect material to make a nozzle out of? This. And I say, well, wait a minute, it's not clear. That's because it's not a monocrystalline diamond, which is actually inferior. You ever seen somebody shatter a sapphire nozzle tip? That's because monocrystalline gems, monocrystalline growths, minerals, they can be, think about this. If nothing is harder than diamond, then how do they make diamonds for rings? Who is this? They hung up. They hung up before I even answered. I don't know what the point of that was. But they're $94. The sapphire is got lower thermal conductivity, lower thermal transfer, worse lubricity. The only thing that sapphire has going for it is it's beautiful, but it's hardness. The purpose of a sapphire is hardness. But if you ram that sapphire into your glass bed, you can break it. And the reason for that is, and this is how they make diamonds, this is how they make gems. Like, how can they cut a gem if you have to use something as hard as a diamond to do it? Well, it's because you don't. Monocrystalline structures have imperfections. You have cleavage lines through the gem. And if you could take a piece of metal, and if you pop it just the right way on one of those cleavage lines, you can cleave the diamond in half. You can cleave the diamond into two parts. It's almost like when you have a perforated piece of paper, it has the dots and you can tear the paper and it'll perforate on that line. Well, think of those perforations as cleave lines in crystals. All crystals have those cleave lines. So if you know what you're doing, if you're a gem worker, you can work it on those cleave lines and cleave the diamond into multiple pieces. Well, that's a problem for 3D printing, because if you ram that nozzle into the bed, it's going to shatter, the diamond. So this is polycrystalline diamond. And by being polycrystalline, you eliminate that problem. Because now you don't have one continuous cleave line going through the crystal. They're all over the place. They're all jumbled up all over the place. So even if you manage to start on one, it's just going to hit the intersection of another. And so you can't cleave the crystal. And the result is it's virtually indestructible. I mean, there's pretty much nothing you can do to hurt that thing. I mean, I can't think of anything. I mean, you could sit there all day and with sandpaper, and it's just not going to hurt it. It's really impressive. So in theory, it is the last nozzle you'll ever have to buy for that printer. Clog, you can physically unclog, a nozzle. You just go in there with a poker and get it out. But in theory, it should be the last nozzle you'd ever have to buy. I can't imagine anything you could do to it that would harm it and stop it from being an effective nozzle. I just can't imagine anything you could do to it. The crushed lemonade packets are actually pretty good. They're surprisingly good. Just enough that clean lemonade bite. Well, no, it's never going to save you money. You could buy, 200 brass nozzles for the price of one of these diamond nozzles. You will never use 200 nozzles in your entire lifetime. So no, you're never going to save any money. The advantages come from how effective the nozzle is. The wear and tear, that's an issue of not wasting your money. Meaning, I would have a problem spending $100 on the nozzle if it wore out in a year. That's what I mean by you're never going to wear it out. So you don't have to worry about spending $100 and having your nozzle wear out on you. It's just not going to happen. Now, why would you want the nozzle? Well, first of all, the hardness. It's literally the hardest nozzle money can buy. Nothing is harder. Matter of fact, I'm not aware if it's possible to make anything harder. It might be the theoretical maximum for hardness. So carbon fiber, glow in the dark. This nozzle is going to look like, bitch, that all you got? Give me a break. Now, there are other advantages. Thermal conductivity and thermal transfer. So, for example, a hardened steel nozzle is harder, but it's a poorer conductor of heat. So, it does not hold as much heat, and it does not conduct as much heat as a brass or a copper nozzle. Why don't we use copper nozzles? Too soft and they tarnish. Brass is a lot easier to keep from tarnishing. Copper would corrode very quickly, just being exposed to air. You ever see those statues that are green? Well, that's the protective oxide coating that forms on the outside of something in copper. Well, the problem is that's going to ruin your nozzle if that happens to your nozzle. Because now you're going to have poorer conductivity of heat, and it's going to change the physical dimensions of the nozzle. So that's why we use brass. Brass is virtually identical to copper as far as conductivity, but a lot cheaper and a lot less corrosive. Polycrystalline diamond beats copper. Polycrystalline diamond has better thermal conductivity than copper. And beyond that, there's nothing better than copper. It also has better thermal transfer. It'll actually suck in the heat coming into your heat block from your heater, and it'll transfer that heat to the filament. So now you're going to get better volumetric flow out of your printer. It's not going to be a lot, but that little bit might make the difference between whether that 1mm nozzle works or doesn't work, or whether you can, it's the best that there is. Whether most of us aren't going to actually use it, you're not going to gain a whole lot of advantage unless you start really pushing boundaries. But your average person printing, a 90-minute benchy is just not going to see that much of a difference. Don't pretty much all printers use V6 nozzles? Okay, first things first. There might be an issue here. Come on, I need a good generic picture. Oh, that was a pretty good picture. Come on. Are you serious? Stop messing with me, or I will bite you. Here we go. This is good enough. So, traditionally, you would think of, like, this is the kind of nozzle that appears, you know, on your Creality style printer. And this is what was traditionally called a V6 nozzle. So, let me be crystal clear here. These are interchangeable. You can use this nozzle on this printer, and you can use this nozzle on this printer. These are fully interchangeable. This thread depth might be a little bit different. Like typically the V6, this threading is a little bit longer, so this nozzle might stick out a little bit more. But they work fine. They both use, M6 threads. They both use the same thread and thread pitch. These nozzles are interchangeable. You don't have to adapt it to use V6. Just put the goddamn V6 on it. It'll work fine. It'll work just fine. It doesn't care. Now, this, for example, is different. These three nozzles here. Okay, so this nozzle here is what Creality puts on their CR6 printers. Okay, this will not fit. This uses it's an M6 thread, but it's a fine pitch instead of a coarse pitch. The thread pitch is different. So if you're putting something on a CR6, CR6 Max, CR6 SE, something like that, you do need to use the correct nozzle. Your standard Creality style nozzle, MK8 nozzle, and your V6 style nozzle won't fit. It'll cross thread. But that is the exception. The vast majority of printers out there, these nozzles are interchangeable. Yes, it will help. How much it will help, I don't know, but it will help. Now, the other advantages are you got the hardness, you got the superior thermal conductivity, so you're going to have at least brass thermal conductivity or better while using a hardened nozzle. Usually when you switch to a hardened nozzle, you give up some thermal conductivity. Like a A2 tool steel nozzle doesn't have quite the same thermal properties as a brass nozzle. Don't even start talking about titanium and stainless steel nozzle. Those are worthless. Unless you have a special use case scenario, they're worthless. So never use a stainless steel nozzle, especially on something like a bamboo. You're going to have a bad day. Now, bamboo is also a custom nozzle. The bamboo uses this kind of nozzle right here. Basically it goes inside instead of on the outside. So the bamboo nozzle is very different. I don't know if it's the same thread pitch or not. Like, can you put a regular nozzle on there? I don't know. But I do know externally it looks very different. So it probably is different. Can you guys even see that? No. So there's your bamboo nozzle. So that probably won't work. I'm not sure. Hey, there we go. I got 3 more pegs printed. But as far as the V6 versus MK8, 99% of the time they're interchangeable. Oh, you're going to see all kinds of accessories eventually made available for the bamboo. It's becoming popular enough that they're starting to make, third-party accessories for it and stuff like that. So that's going to happen. But, yeah, I gotta find... I don't think I have any spare hot end left. I think I'm going to have to order one. But yeah, there's something wrong with, there's something wrong with the hot end on that. But I don't understand why the longer is giving me a problem. That shouldn't be giving me any problems. Huh. But it's clearly under extruding. It's very clearly under extruding. But that explains a lot of my problems. That explains a whole lot of the problems. So I'm even printing at 230 degrees Celsius, which I probably don't have to do with a 0.8. With the 1.2 I have to, but I don't think I have to. But you know something though? That's when I switched the nozzle too. I gotta try to find a 0.8 millimeter drill bit and see if it fits. Like, I don't think I can measure something. Well, yeah. I might be able to see that. But could I tell the difference between a 0.8 and a 0.6? Would I even be able to tell the difference? Like with my eyes. That's an awful small amount to have to tell the difference. That does look different to me. That's 6. And that's 8. I'll have to check. Either both printers are under extruding, or I got a whole bunch of 0.6 millimeter nozzles that are stamped as 0.8. So I'll have to check that. Also, I managed to now I understand why it did it. I couldn't figure out how the hell I clogged a 1.2 millimeter hardened steel CHT nozzle, CHT style nozzle. It hard jammed on me, and I was like, how? How does that even happen with such a big orifice? It's because it's jamming in the throat. It's not jamming in the nozzle. The nozzle's clear. The throat is jamming. I got a clean fan on there. It's a 40 millimeter double ball bearing fan. I just checked. It's spinning at full speed. It's blowing plenty of air, so it's not heat creep. There's just something's hinky with that hot end. Something's not right. Nice. But you should be able to go slightly faster or just have better flow. You have hardness, so you're never going to have to worry. You can put whatever filament you want through that nozzle, and you'll never have to worry about damaging the nozzle. It's also better for filaments like PETG because it has higher lubricity, meaning the PCD portion of the nozzle is more slippery. So the plastic should be less inclined to stick to it. You know how you get those boogers on a PETG print? Because a little bit of the plastic gets stuck to the brass and eventually it cooks off a little black blob and drops it in your print. That shouldn't happen, or not as often. So people who print PETG are probably going to like this nozzle. The thermal conductivity and the lubricity are both beneficial for PETG. For PLA, there's not really a whole much of a benefit. I mean, it's PLA. But it's if you're satisfied with what you're getting out of your nozzle now, don't worry about it. But if you want to play around with a whole bunch of different materials and different fills and stuff like that, if you're constantly changing from this plastic to that plastic, there is a benefit. That's actually a thing. Lubricating nozzles is a thing. They actually have a Teflon paint. They tried making Teflon coated nozzles, but they didn't work because you can literally just go and scratch the Teflon paint off. So now they include a little tube of Teflon paint. So every now and then you clean your nozzle off and you repaint the Teflon on there. That's to stop the PETG from sticking to the fucking nozzle. Because PETG is such a pain in the ass sometimes that it will prefer to stick to the nozzle than to stick to itself. It's like, I like the brass better than the other plastic. So fuck you, I'm going up here. PETG could be a pain in the ass. But I gotta figure that out because I want to get one of these blocks. Oh God, I can't stop yawning. But I need to get the correct extrusion so I get a proper print. But also, I can't just print thicker because I need to keep each part below a kilogram. Because once these parts, if this part goes above a kilogram, then I have to do a mid-roll change. And that's a real pain in the ass. So the whole point of all the design work is to make the entire block 1 kilogram. It's close to 1. Well, that's nice. Look at that. That's actually a pretty nice finish. It's not perfect, but it's nice. Stringing means two things. You got to turn on combing, and you have to dry the PETG. PETG is far more hygroscopic than PLA is, and one of the side effects of PETG being wet is that you're going to get not a smooth skin, so the skin will not be smooth, it'll be like furry, and you're going to get more stringing. That's just the nature of PET. You also need to turn on combing. So what that's saying is when I wish it would treat infill as part of the combing, but it doesn't. But if you have something complex you're printing, let's say this was actually part of the model and not just infill. So you print this, and it wants to go here and print this. Assuming this is part of the model and not infill, okay? What will happen is it'll print this, and then it'll do this. It'll actually stay inside the model as it moves over here to print this, instead of just moving straight across. And that's why you get the stringing. The nature of PETG, it's slightly wet, and you do a direct path jump from here to here. So you got to tune your retraction. You will find a sweet spot for retraction. Also turn down your fan. I run my fan at 25% when printing with PETG, and I also run it hot. I print at 250, 255 when I print PETG. PETG likes it hot. And then also run the PETG through your dryer before you print with it. It's not as bad as nylon where it'll get wet sitting there on the table in 10 or 15 minutes, but it'll stay dry for a few hours. But take your PETG, run it through the dryer, and then turn on combing, all that stuff. Nice. I never had a problem with PLA. Typically, I just take a piece of filament and I go in there and I poke the blob that's on the nozzle, and that usually ends the problem. But PETG can be a pain in the butt. But for a lot of my prints, I have to use PETG because it gets too hot here. It gets hot enough here that the PLA part won't hold up. It'll warp. So I have to use PETG in order to have the temperature tolerance, especially printing in vase mode. This is not vase mode, but my other shed is. Alright, I got a hunt down a Creality hot end. If I have any left, I think I know where it might... Oh, God. If I have any left, I think I might know where it is. On my shelf in there, I think I might have one more. Maybe. I'm going to check before I order one because I don't really have the $11. But try replacing the hot end on the... I'm going to get rid of the lizard. It's not working right. I'm not getting good results. Although I got to check the nozzles first. Because this was printed using the 1.2 millimeter nozzle. I told it to extrude 0.8 out of a 1.2. So it could be the nozzles. I'll have to check the nozzles. The orifices did seem awfully small, but that's just, bad eyes. So I will check that. Do I have any here? No. Yeah. I don't know if I can use this reliably to measure something that small by naked eye, but I'll try. But it might be the nozzles. Nah, I just take a piece of filament. I take a scrap piece of filament like that. And I use it like a knife. I go in there, I push it past the nozzle, I touch and pull. So I touch the filament to the nozzle where the plastic is, and I give it a pull. Well, you don't like seeing naked eyes? It's possible I'm going too fast, too. It's possible I'm exceeding the rate at which the hot end can transfer heat to the plastic. And so, of course, because the plastic is not getting molten enough, it's under extruding. But that doesn't make sense, because this, I'm printing this really slowly. This is printing at a more than slow enough speed to transfer the heat. And this is also under extruding. This should be 1.6 millimeters thick, and it's not. It's hard to measure, though, because I can't get to. It's 1.3, 1.3, 1.4, and it should be 1.6. So that's an issue. This should be a lot more plastic. That also explains why it's doing this. Why that's not fusing. Because it's under extruding. That makes sense now. Not for me. Eventually you end up at like 15 burn marks on your finger, and that's a pain in the ass. No thanks. I'm still trying to figure out something I want to print with this Candy Blast color. I really like this color. This is a new color from Atomic Filament. They're not cheap, but they're my favorite filament brand. I love their filament so much. They just make some really badass colors. Yeah, the calibration's fine. You never the answer is never calibrate your E-steps. That's never the answer. Okay, it's like the scammer thing. Okay, if you're building a rat rig, if you're building a Voron, if you're making some kind of custom homemade machine and you've compiled your own firmware, okay, you need to calibrate E-steps. But on a manufactured, commercially sold printer, your E-steps is never the problem. If you say, calibrate your... No. Calibrate... No. But your E-steps... No. That's not it. Trust me. Your E-steps is not the problem. But I'm not getting enough plastic because your motor's fucked, or your hot end's fucked, or your filament's fucked, or your nozzle's fucked. It's not your E-steps. Sure, you might be able to correct the problem by adjusting your E-steps, but you're just putting a Band-Aid on the problem. And because your problem is variable, your fix is going to be variable. Yeah, if you're building a printer yourself, there obviously is going to be calibration. You're doing your own firmware. Well, flow rate is different. If you're not an old shortwave or ham radio guy, you're not going to understand this, but you might if you've seen it in the movies. If you've ever seen the older radios, in RC we call it dual rate. But you have the one knob, the big knob, that makes the needle on the radio go meow, and so you go and you get close, and then you switch to the inside knob, and now you can go turn, and the needle just goes ee. So you have a coarse adjustment and you have a fine adjustment. Okay, so your E-steps is your coarse adjustment. That's your big movements. Your flow rate in the slicer, that's your fine-tuned knob. Okay? That's for, this plastic is a little thinner than most plastics, so I'm going to up the flow rate a little bit. Oh, this plastic's a little thicker than most plastics. I'm going to put down the flow rate a little bit. And you tweak it until you get your desired results. TVs had coarse and fine tuning knobs? Wow, I didn't know that. It's a common thing on ham radios and older analog ham radios and shortwave radios. You have the big knob that makes the needle go big steps across the dial, and then you have the little knob that makes it just move a tiny bit. So it's like, I can go, and I can go, so you do that. So this is E steps, and this is flow rate. You make that fine adjustment. I use flow rate all the time. Most Creality printers, you got to run them at 94%. That's a Band-Aid. Like, for example, most Creality printers, Creality hot ends, I run at 0.94 or 94%. That's just where I get the best results. How do you know you're calibrated correctly? How do you know that you're getting the proper extrusion? For example, most people don't realize that carbon fiber and glow-in-the-dark filament doesn't wear your nozzle down. It can't. It's molten. It's liquid coming out of the nozzle. A liquid can't, a low-speed liquid, okay? Because obviously, if you ever saw a water jet cutting machine, but in reality, that's actually not the water doing it. It's the sand in the water doing it. It's the grit in the water jet that's doing the cutting. But the filament can't wear your nozzle out. That's not how it works. It just doesn't work that way. What wears your nozzle out is poor flow rate, poor calibration of the flow rate coming. Basically you're over extruding. So when you lay down a layer of filament and you go and you lay down a line of filament, well, when you're done laying down that line, what do you do next? Well, let me get that right here. You lift the nozzle up, and then you lay down another line. You lift the nozzle up again, and you lay down another line. Well, what happens when you over extrude? Remember, printers are stupid. They're dumb, deaf, blind, retarded, rejected, idiotic machines that only know one thing. A printer only knows one thing. It's how to count. I can't even tell my printer to move 10 millimeters because a printer has no idea what 10 millimeters is. I do a conversion where I say, okay, this motor, this electric motor, this little stepper motor, there's a reason we use stepper motors, okay? This stepper motor moves in steps. So think of it like a gear that has detents. And you can't stop in between. You can. There's ways to do micro stepping, but we're going to simplify this. Think of a gear, and you move from here to here to here to here. So your 1.8 degree motor looks like this, while your 0.9 degree motor looks like this. It's got finer teeth. Okay? So I'm not telling the printer to move 1, 2, 3 centimeters. I'm telling the printer to move 100 steps. And it goes tick, 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 100 steps. And because I did my calibration in advance, the factory did the calibration, but because you did your calibration, you calculated, okay, well, 1.8 degrees of motion per step. And and you got your wheel, your gear drive that's this big. It's going to rotate. I tell it to go 10 steps. It's going to rotate 18 degrees. Well, how many linear millimeters is 18 degrees of rotation using that wheel and that stepper motor? That's your E-steps. So if you change the size of that gear motor on the end of the stepper motor, you have to change your E-steps. Because it's like another way of describing this, your car has no idea how fast it's going. But I have a speedometer. No, you don't. You don't have a speedometer. You have nothing in your car that can tell you how fast it's going. That's not how a speedometer works. We call it a speedometer, but that's not how a speedometer works. The way a speedometer works is by counting rotations. Your transmission is spinning, okay? As long as your transmission is engaged to your wheels, your transmission is spinning. Well, your wheel is a certain diameter, okay? And that diameter equals a certain circumference. So this is diameter, this is circumference. Do I have a bigger circle? Yeah. So this here is circumference. So if you have the tire on the ground and you put a mark on the ground in the tire right here, and you roll the tire exactly one time, and you mark the ground again, and then you measure the length between those two marks, that's the circumference of this circle. The way it works is that the factory provides for a certain size tire for your car, which means that tire of a specified size has a known circumference. There's a little gear in your transmission that counts how many times the transmission turns. And if I know how many times the transmission turned, which is directly linked to how many times the tire has turned, and I know what the circumference of the tire is, I can use the number of turns of that gear to determine how far the car has moved. That's why as your tires wear out, your speedometer changes. That's why if you change the size of the tire on your car, your speedometer stops working correctly. That's why my 88 Jeep Cherokee was reading 50 miles when I was doing 55 miles an hour, and that's because I put 31-inch tires on the car. So now the tires were larger. So now one revolution of the tire equaled a longer distance, which means X number of spins of the gear is actually faster now because it's a distance, not a speed. It's making assumptions about the size and circumference of your tire. So when you change the size of the tire on your car, you got to change that little gear in the transmission if you can get one that has the appropriate difference to correct your speedometer. Now, modern cars have other things in them, but I'm betting they do it the same way. Tire pressure monitoring is literally a pressure gauge. That's it. It's a pressure gauge. Now, it uses the rotation to turn itself on and off, so it's not running all the time. So when your tire stops rotating, the pressure monitor turns off. That's why the batteries can last 4 or 5 years. And when the car starts rotating, the tire pressure monitor gets turned on. There's a little centrifugal switch inside. It gets turned on and it broadcasts a little radio signal, and your car has the ability to receive that little radio signal, and it says, here's my pressure. Oh yeah, 76 inches. My damn circumference is pretty much my height. It's disgusting. But your 3D printer works exactly the same way. Your 3D printer doesn't understand number of layers and 10 millimeters and 100 millimeters and stuff like that. It understands steps. There is a little pressure gauge inside the tire. Here, I'll show you. Where is it? Here we go. So inside your car, on each tire you have one of these. This is your tire valve. All right, this gets forced through a hole in the metal rim, just like that right there. And this part sticks out, and this part's on the inside. This provides your seal. This is a one-way valve. You have to, or not a one-way valve, but it's an open and closed valve. That little stem in there, that has to get depressed, which opens up the air path between here, inside and outside, and allows air to get inside. The inside looks like that. That's your little valve inside the tire. Now, modern cars have an actual electronic battery-powered gadget. It looks like that. So here's your tire valve, and this is your little electronic gadget. Inside of here, there's a couple of coin cell batteries, and that hole right there is your pressure gauge. It's literally measuring the pressure inside the tire. You know the little pressure gauge that you get? And you stick it on the tire and it shows you the reading? You've got one of those built into that little gadget right there. And each of those is its own independent little pressure gauge. It's just inside your tire. You can actually remove them. When you take the tire off of the rim, that little thing actually unbolts, and because you can't replace the batteries. And the only way they can ever possibly make that thing survive inside of a car tire, going boom, 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 boom down the road as you hit potholes, is by sealing that sucker up in epoxy. You don't. You can't. There's no way to change the battery in it. If they tried to design that with a replaceable battery, it would weigh 5 times as much and cost 10 times as much. Because remember, your car tire doing 75 miles an hour, and you're going boom, boom as you go down the road. There's no battery compartment in the world that's ever going to hold up to that. It's never going to happen. Within 5 miles, the thing will blow itself to a million pieces. So that thing is sealed. It's all epoxy potted and sealed, just so it can handle the vibrations and the bounces and the harsh treatment. So you replace the whole thing. That whole thing. You buy a set of 4 of them, and you replace all 4. Yeah, that's actually a little electronic gadget. It's battery powered, and when your tire rotates, it turns on. And after a certain amount of time of stop rotating, it turns off. But as long as your tire's rotating, it's on. This way, it's only actually drawing much power when you're driving. Yes. Yep. And you can get external ones. So if you want to add TPMS to a car that doesn't have it, you can get these little valve caps that have little batteries in them. Those are actually replaceable, the batteries. And the only reason those hold up is because they're on the end of a rubber valve stem. So they're not being beat to living hell like the ones inside your tire are. And a lot of times they do blow apart and end up in pieces. They're nice for trailers, though. It's nice to be able to add a set of those to your trailer so you can see the tire pressure in your trailer. Now, some cars are dummy systems where it's simply the pressure's too low. You just get a little light. It looks like a flat tire. If the pressure goes below 35 psi, that light comes on. Some cars will actually show you the pressure of the 4 separate tires. Some cars are smarter still and can actually tell you which tire is which. Most don't, though. Some cars you get the dummy light, that's all you get, but if you plug in an OBD2 scanner, you can see more details. No, it's likely not getting your speed from GPS. GPS is 100 times more accurate for speed than your speedometer is, but there's a huge lag time. So GPS is only good for speed when you're moving at the same speed consistently. Very, very accurate to within 0.1 miles per hour. But as soon as you start speeding up, slowing down, it's accurate, but there's a refresh rate. There's a rate at which it gets those signals from the satellite, and that rate is relatively slow. So for telling where you are on the road, it's more than accurate enough. But for telling your speed as you're accelerating from a stop, by the time you get to 30, it just now realized you started moving. So there's a lag time, so you couldn't really use it for a speedometer. You would need a different kind of system. It has to what? Is there any way to get rid of this fucking heart? Can I make it bigger? I can't make the chat bigger. Alright, it has to go to, I have no idea, and back, lol. Because whatever, I have no idea, is under the fucking heart symbol. See what I mean? It's under the stupid fucking heart. I can't see what you're saying, so I'm going to type something in. There we go. space and back. No, it does not have to go to space and back. That's not how GPS works. GPS is a receiver, not a transmitter. Your car is not transmitting anything back to the satellites. What your car is doing is it's receiving timing signals. The way a GPS works is literally very accurate clocks and 2 stopwatches. Okay? So your clock syncs with the satellite clock using an almanac and ground-based stations. You are basically receiving a time code. You're receiving a time code from the satellite. The satellite says, okay, I'm going to do this in seconds just to make this easier. So your satellite goes 1 second, 2 second, 3 second, 4 second, 5 second, 3 second. It sends out a time code. Basically what the satellite's transmitting is time. Now, of course, the time is wrong. The time is always wrong because it takes time for the signal to get from the satellite to you. It might take, 1/10 of a second for that signal to get from the satellite to you. The difference, how off that time is called time of flight. That's how long was that signal in the air. So you're sending me a 10 a.m. 1 minute 0.0004 second timestamp, but my clock says I got that timestamp at 0.0154 seconds. So what's the difference between 0.0154 and 0.0004? And we know the speed of light, so we know how fast light goes based on the distance to that satellite and the speed of light and the difference in the time. So I now know how far away that satellite is. And now I get a signal from this satellite. I now know how far away that satellite is. And now I get a signal from this satellite. I now know how far away that satellite is. So I know how long it took to get the signal from here to there, and I know the speed of light, so I know the number of inches between here and there, here and there, here and there. You take those 3 points and correlate them with a location on the Earth. That's why you have to have an almanac. Because remember, these satellites are moving up in orbit. So the almanac is what allows you to associate these satellites with locations on the Earth. And how do you tell the precision and the accuracy of that location? With the time codes that you're getting from those satellites. Because we know where the satellites are, we know where the planet is, we know how fast the speed of light is, and we know the time of flight for the signal that got from the satellite to us. So by using the math and trigonometry, we can figure out where you are on the planet. So that's all done by receiving. You're not transmitting anything. That's why my skip something dishes drive always arrives before the app shows arriving. What's that? Is that some kind of like food delivery app? Food delivery. There's several possible reasons for that. For example, when I worked at Papa John's, they wanted to put GPS trackers in the car toppers for our cars so they can track our GPS location. And I told my boss, fuck no. He's like, what do you mean? He's like, they'll just put it in the topper. And I was like, and the next day I'll have a GPS jammer installed in my car and you'll get nothing. He's like, why would you do that? I was like, dude, I'm a pizza delivery guy. It's the 5th most dangerous job in the country. Over 400, now it's over 600. Over 600 delivery drivers. Now this is all delivery drivers. UPS, pizza delivery, DoorDash, all of them. Over 600 delivery drivers are killed due to homicide a year being robbed. And you want to tell the robbers where I'm at? in real time. Let's see. Hey, Google, give me directions from Papa John's to here. Okay, this person is almost certain to go down this road right here. Hey, guys, get your guns. We're going to order a pizza. Let's wait right here. Okay, he's turning left according to the app. Get ready to rob him. Are you kidding me? Over my dead body? I was like, I'm not doing it. You're paying me $4.25 an hour, and you want to triple the risk to my life. Now, I mean, if Papa John's wants to know where I'm at, that's fine. I got no problem with that. I'm an employee. They have a right to know where I'm at. But I know what you're going to do with it. You're going to do what Domino's does. You're going to have a pizza tracker. I'm sorry. No. Fuck no. Wow. I mean, that's just... I'm pretty sure the Domino's one has a time delay. Meaning the... I thought it did, but when I tracked the one time I ordered delivery here, I don't order delivery because it's only a mile and a half away, and they charge like $5 for delivery. And plus, if I can't tip at least $5, I'm not ordering. But I'm pretty sure it was pretty close to accurate. Like, I could see her turning down my road and coming down my road on the app. I thought they were going to have a time delay built into that, so that people couldn't use it to rob you. It's like, over my dead body. No, it's not worth it. It's especially in the bad areas where I was delivering. Fuck that. You might as well put a big giant "rob me, kick me" sign on the back of my car. Why do you think half the drivers don't even want to put a car topper on their car? Because it makes them a target. I know why you want the car topper, because it's advertising. You know, that actually is pretty effective. When that lighted car topper drives by your house and you happen to be looking out the window and you see that car go by with that big Papa John's sign on top, you're like, yeah, I could go for some pizza. I know for a fact that causes orders to happen. Because I've driven down a street to deliver a pizza, and when I got back to the store, there were 2 more orders for that same street. And that's because someone saw me drive by with that big-ass lighted sign on the car. But it also makes you a target. Especially when you have dumbasses delivering pizza. Well, you're never supposed to have more than $20 on you at a time. Ever. You even have a lockbox in the store that only you put your own padlock on it. So that you can take your own personal cash and put your stuff in there, your valuables in there. I didn't even carry my cell phone. I didn't even carry my cell phone outside of my car. I bought I think I was paying like $4 a month or something like that. It was for calls only. I had a little cell phone this big. I'm not kidding. The cell phone was this big. It was an itty-bitty micro cell phone. I paid like $20 for it, and it took a little micro nano SIM card, and I had it on US Cellular, so it was dirt cheap. And that's what I used to make my phone calls. The number of times I had a customer see me put this itty-bitty phone to my ear, and they go, "Is that a fucking cell phone?" And I hold it up to them like, "Yep." It's the kind of thing you slip it in your pocket, little micro USB port to charge it up. I still have it here somewhere. When I find it, I'll show it to you guys. It's hilarious. Hang on. Oh yeah, for the pizza? No, they don't usually get robbed for the pizza. They get robbed for money. They want money. Why are you showing me Apple and Samsung? Why in God's name would you be showing me Apple and Samsung? Why did you add a T? It's not available anymore? Not on eBay, at least. These are huge. Mine was way tinier than these. Oh, that's cool. I want that. It's dumb, but I want it. I'm trying to find one to show you guys. But it's... Here we go. That's pretty small. And this is 18 bucks. So, there, a phone like that. And mine was actually smaller than this. Mine was, it was not as wide as my thumb. My thumb is actually wider than the phone. But it's an itty bitty phone like that. It's like half the size of a gum stick pack. And they're dirt cheap. It's like 18 bucks. They cost like next to nothing. And I want this one. Looks like the old original Motorola, the brick phones. Ah, that's just cool. It's got to have a big... Yeah, it's a power bank, so it's got a big-ass honking battery in it. My sister's boyfriend was an idiot. He got robbed in Delaware, delivering pizza. And the fucking moron had a $600 rent on him. So a green light got put out on delivery drivers. 14 delivery drivers got robbed in the next 10 days. Because this dumbass had his $600 in rent on him. And so the call went out to all the people that, hey, these idiots are carrying $600 on them. And so Papa John's drivers just got flooded with robberies because this idiot was carrying $600 on him. So not only did he lose his rent money, but he put a big giant bullseye on all of our backs. Stupid. That's why you don't carry money on you. When they learn that you don't have money, they don't bother robbing you because you don't got no money. But as soon as they learn you got money, it's a free-for-all. The green light goes out. It's like the call goes out, and it's like, go get them. Stupid. Yeah, I've had that phone for 10 years. It's awesome. It's an awesome little phone. I still have it. I'll find it. When I find it, I'll show it to you guys. It's literally this big. It's bigger than this. It's about that long, and it's probably a little bit wider than a USB plug. You know, it's probably about as wide as an SD card. So think 2 SD cards on top of each other. Actually, I think that's a little bit on the big side. Yeah, it's more like, it's about that big, but narrower. Now, it's pretty thick, you know, it's almost that thick as well, but, you know, relative to its width. But it's just an itty-bitty little phone. It's an itty-bitty little phone. And that's what I carried on me when I delivered pizza. You know, the last thing I want is somebody robbing me for my $900 phone. You know what I mean? Screw that. It stays in the car in the lockbox. I don't. Calls only. The only time I would use that phone is if I have to make a call with the customer at their door. So I have to call in a correction for an order, or I have to call the customer to come to the door, to unlock the door, to answer the door. That's the only thing it's there for. It's just to make that one call. Just dip, 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 dip. You know, stick the whole phone in your ear, basically. I was, no, they actually did make. I thought of it at the time, and then like a few months later, they started selling them. They actually made, it looks like a Bluetooth headset, but it's a phone. So instead of being a phone scaled down with an earpiece, they basically took the earpiece and stuck it right on the end of the phone. And then the actual Bluetooth headset itself was actually just a keypad. You would dial your number, and then you'd literally stick it in your ear like an earpiece. Then let's see if I can find one of those. I don't know what you'd call it, so. But basically, it was an earpiece that was a phone. So instead of having a little speaker on the phone, they had an earpiece on the phone, and you would literally stick the whole phone in your ear. It was so tiny that it looked like just a slightly oversized Bluetooth headset. It used to be really easy to find this stuff. I guess it's not in vogue anymore, so it's a little harder to find this stuff. But it used to be easy to find this stuff. Now it's like I can't find it. Let's try cell phone. Or there's a lot of flack. There's a lot of other search terms that bring up the same thing. How can I not find this? Can't find it. I can't find it. What the hell? Are they just not available, or am I just using the wrong words? But it's you take an earpiece and you made it with the phone, so that the phone is the earpiece. You know, instead of a button here to answer the call, you actually take the earpiece out of your ear, and it's like an itty bitty little keyboard. Oh, it's nice to know that these still exist. I have a couple of them, but the batteries are probably going bad. You see, it's not showing me what I asked for. It's showing me what it thinks I want instead of what I asked it to show me. That's really annoying. I'll switch screens once I find something. Can't find anything. It's just showing me fucking headsets. because it's too goddamn... See, this is the problem. Google doesn't work anymore. Now Google, it does not show you what you search for. It shows you what it thinks you want. Instead of actually searching for what I asked it to search for, it's showing, because none of these even have the words that I asked it to look for. I wish it's so useless. But here's my favorite kind of headset. One of the problems I have with headsets is I don't like wearing headsets. I don't like wearing Bluetooth earpieces. It's annoying having that in my ear. So this is the kind that I prefer. So this is a Bluetooth headset. And the speaker, this earpiece, is on an extendable, retractable cord. So the way that would work is you would clip it to your shirt here, and it would just sit here on your shirt. And when you got a call, you would grab the earpiece, the retractable extension cord would go click, 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 and you'd stick it in your ear. And then you'd make your call. And when you're done with your call, you take it out of your ear, it would retract back into the little unit, and that little tiny unit would just sit there on your shirt. So nice. Because I can't stand wearing a headset in my ear all day. It's so uncomfortable. I hate it. But yeah, they make a earpiece that is basically, you know, an earpiece like this. Except right here, it would be a phone. So instead of putting it to your ear, you'd stick it in your ear. They can make them so small that the earpiece was the phone. It had the SIM card, everything in it. You know, if you want that style. I prefer the little candy bar phone. I can stick it in my pocket. But yeah, when I find that, I'll show it to you guys. It's ridiculous how small it is. It's so small. But it's fun. Who doesn't like having little trinkets, you know? Little weird, fun gadgets like that. But, I'm going to kick Michelle's ass. Yeah, she's going to get an ass kicking today. Alrighty, guys. I'm going to start making some dinner. We're going to have some turkey tonight and tomorrow night. Because I got 2 turkeys. I took one out the day before yesterday. I took one out yesterday, so... The one I took out the day before yesterday should be fully thawed now. It's going to go in the rotisserie. I'm going to run out and grab the potatoes. I got candied yams. I got brown sugar, and I got Jet Puff mini marshmallows. We're going to make some badass candied yam potatoes, sweet potatoes. That's going to be good. She wanted some pumpkin pie, so I grabbed a pumpkin pie and some ice cream and some Cool Whip. So we'll have some pumpkin pie. But it's not the good pumpkin pie. I don't have a Costco membership anymore. They make the best pumpkin pies. Oh my god, that Costco pumpkin pie is so good. The ones from Walmart taste like garbage compared to the one from Costco. I gotta make my own pumpkin pie. I've got pie filling and stuff like that. I gotta learn how to make a good pumpkin pie. So, you guys have a great time. I'm going to get a new hot end for the Chiron. I'm going to try to see if I can get this one to extrude the correct amount of plastic. I got to check the nozzles. Maybe I got bad nozzles. Maybe they're not 0.8 millimeters. Maybe they're 0.6. Because both of them doing the same thing? And see if maybe they sent me a whole bunch of 0.6s that are marked as 0.8. Maybe they screwed up. And because the only one that printed correctly was this one. And it does feel nice and strong. So I'm thinking this is the only one that printed correctly. That the rest are under extruding. And that explains a lot of the problems I'm having. And but yeah, just keep printing out. I can only run one print at a time. Electricity's too expensive. So I print one of these per day basically. I'm right now I'm printing 3 or 4 of them a week. sometimes I don't print one, or I got to go out and get more filament, or I decide to print some of these and stuff like that. And, go from there. I'm going to get those PETG rolls in here, although with the colder temperatures, the PETG might not be that happy to print. We'll see. But I want to get the other shed done, this one here. I want to get more panels of this done so I can actually do something with this. And get that set up. I'd like to get it outside in the weather, see how it holds up. And go from there. I still haven't figured out how I'm going to make the roof. I got to figure out how I'm going to attach a roof. I think I know what I need to do. It's just going to be tricky getting it lined up correctly. So we shall see. All right, I will see you guys later. Thank you very much. If you want to help me out, send me a PayPal. Use my affiliate links. If you're going to do some Black Friday shopping on Amazon or any of these other 3D stores, check my links down below in the description. If you use my affiliate links, I get a commission from that. If you want to support me, I got Patreon, Coffee, PayPal, etc. I will see you guys all later.